Oh, whoa! We gotta be off mute. We gotta be off mute before we start, Mitch. What's up, everybody? We're back for another episode. Good news, Mitch. Nobody canceled us last week for our bad golf tips or the couple F-bombs I might have accidentally dropped. I'll try and be better at that, but who knows? It might just happen. So, anyways, good news. We're back. Episode 2 of the Flyer Lie. If you weren't here last week, I'm Josh, or Jish. Some people call me that. Mitch is above me, or next to me right now. He'll be above me in some other screens later. We're here every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central Normal Time, talking all things relevant to us as amateur competitive golfers. If you're in the chat, feel free to drop some comments. Eventually, Mitch, we're going to get sick of just talking to each other. So if people want to get in the chat and talk, we'll talk with you guys. We'll talk to each other. We'll talk to you guys. It'll be fun. More fun than just us kind of yapping to each other. Also, like last week, we are new to all of this. If you hear any weird sounds or feedback or anything weird, just let us know so we can get it fixed right away. We're still testing things out with microphones and setups and all that stuff to make sure we got it right. Just like the beginning of the show where I had my microphone muted before we started. So, anyways, this week, Mitch, we are going to go back to a topic we kind of started on last week, which is putting. And for a lot of people, in my opinion anyway, this is a part of a game where you can improve your game the quickest. Might not be the best in terms of getting better at golf, but you can knock things out really quickly, in my opinion, and get better quickly. There is a ceiling, however, and randomness comes into play just as quickly as you can improve. So keep that in mind. But we're going to go back to that. Mitch has an insanely good golf tip for us this week that honestly we may have should have started with last week. It's so good. So we'll get to that, and then we'll probably cover a little bit of how you and I practice when it's now 0 degrees outside and looking at like a high of -10 next week at some point. So how we practice in the winter, kind of things we're working on, and then maybe probably get into some stuff we're looking at for some competitive golf in terms of qualifiers. So that's the spiel for that. Mitch, you got any ideas where you want to start? I kind of listed like a million things. You want to just take something and run?
Yeah, I think we just start with, trying to...
Alrighty, let's do it. Let's start there.
Actually get some real practice in. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I just got a simulator that I go hit up maybe once a week, once every other week. Probably get a little bit more frequent now that, Vikings lost. My NFL season watching's over.
Ouch. So. Yep.
But yeah, what about you? What are some big things that you like to do during the winter?
So I have a bit of a progression on how this happened. Early on in my indoor golfing work, started a few years ago. You just went in the garage. You can get like a launch monitor that's like $200-$300 now that you can put in your garage and hit irons and wedges and stuff. And as long as it's warm enough, you can do that. The readings aren't super accurate, but it really doesn't matter as long as you're actually swinging the club. That matters a lot for golfers in Minnesota or up north where it's too cold. So I just started with like a $200-$300 launch monitor that hit into a screen in my garage, and then I kind of upped the ante with the launch monitors. Now I have a Bushnell, I can't remember what the name is now, whatever the new cool one is that they just came out with. I have that, and I have a room in our new house that is set up so I can hit pretty much everything except for drivers. So I use that, hit balls every once in a while. But the key for me is just hitting balls. Before, when I was trying to get like a lot better really quickly at golf, I was working on specific things inside. So like wedges, for example, and the trick you'll get into later. I worked on that a lot indoors, and just trying to be able to hit balls closer to the hole, because I do a lot of driver wedge stuff on the golf courses based on how I play.
Mhm.
So I did that a lot. And then now my goal really is to just be a better ball striker, because admittedly I'm not a super great ball striker. So my focus is really just hitting balls and getting better at getting the ball in the middle of the face and squaring it up, so I can kind of tell what I'm doing and where it's going to go a little bit better than it normally does. So
Mhm.
I had a little bit of a progression there, but I think for most people, I mean, you can get relatively inexpensive things now and be pretty good at, or get pretty good at, ball striking and stuff over the winter just in your garage. So
Right. Yeah, another thing that I really like doing now I'm just kind of thinking about it a little bit more, especially last winter when I was working with Ryan on working on correcting some of my mechanical issues, like my pivot, my takeaway, and my top position a little bit. Those are really easy things to do in the middle of your living room. You don't need a ball. You don't need anything. You don't need a full swing. All you really need to do is just have a mirror, or you set up your camera so that you can see how you're moving the club. And honestly, I did that hundreds of times. I did Ryan's ball on the wall drill, and I just practiced my takeaway just over and over and over and over again. Super simple. Kept a club in my living room whenever I was bored, pick it up, just practice it, and it's getting better now. But it can be really simple like that.
yeah, it's a lot like other sport. I mean, a lot of people that come to golf come from other sports. Not everybody, but a lot of people that get into golf are coming into golf because they're looking for something else competitive to do that they can't do anymore. They can't do as well. So it's like, if you're a basketball player like I was, if you wanted to get better at dribbling, for example, you just have a ball in your living room and you just dribble around in your living room. You piss your mom off probably, but you just do that. Or you just carry around a basketball wherever you go. I remember there were kids in middle school and high school that were trying to get a lot better at basketball, so they literally carried a basketball throughout the hallways in school. Or you see the stories about football players all the time, even professionals that will they walk into practice and they already are carrying a football, and they are walking at home and they just have a football on their arm. So it's similar. Golf is similar. If you want to get better at whatever, practice your stuff in the living room. Just have a club sitting there. If you want to get better at putting, just have a ball and a putter on. If you got carpet, that's great. Do it on carpet. Or if you got a putting mat, do that. So yeah, just as long as you're doing something golf, you'd be surprised how good in golf shape that keeps you. Not in terms of like hitting golf balls and like actually physically being in shape, but in terms of mentally being in shape to play golf when the snow melts and you're ready to play. You'd be surprised how much it helps.
Yeah, that's a great way to finish this part of our conversation up tonight, and it's kind of what I was just gonna wrap it with. Is as long as you're doing something. Like in Minnesota, we have long winters. I mean, you might not touch a club for 5-6 months if you don't practice somehow, some way. So just finding a way to put a club in your hand and practice any way you can.
Yeah. So speaking of being ready for golf when the snow melts, Mitch and I are both competitive golfers. As we mentioned last time, we talked a little bit in the intro that we're going to talk competitive golf a bunch. Over the past week or so, the MGA, who is the main organization that puts together the large golf tournament, amateur golf tournaments here, they have started to put out a bunch of qualifiers for the players, the MGA players, which is the Minnesota big match play. You play like a 1-day tournament. If you make it, then you're in this match play bracket. And then the MGA Amateur, which is our state amateur, they have qualifying sites out for that. You wanna take a peek at the sites quick and see if there's any that I don't know if you've looked at them at all yet. I have, and I have some opinions on my game. I can pull them up quick, and we can run through them
Yeah.
and see if there's any that you're liking as we kind of
Yeah,
get
let's pull 'em up.
prepared. All right, let's do
I
that.
did take a quick peek as you were getting the show ready today, but I'm not familiar with a ton of them. I think the only one I've actually played is the bridges in Winona.
Okay, see, and we were talking before the show, and we both spent a bunch of time in Winona. Funny enough, at the same time, and didn't know each other. um, but I have actually never played the bridges, and it's a long drive for me, so I won't anyway. But I think it's closer to you than me, right?
Yeah, and just quick look at these. I think that's the closest one to me. I was planning on playing there last year because I think the qualifier was there last year, um, but it didn't end up working out for my work schedule, unfortunately. But if it does this year, might have to give it a run.
Sure, yeah. I know nothing about it. I'm in the cities, so on this list I have Loggers Trail, Columbia Golf Club, and Meadowbrook. Any of those, if anybody's played those, for somebody that hits the ball pretty far and not super straight, Loggers Trail is not an option. Meadowbrook is maybe sort of an option, other than the part where if you aren't like kind of sort of straight, almost every shot there is blind. So if you don't have a clue where it's going, like you literally could hit the ball and it might be in play, but you might not find it. So that's a problem for me. And then Columbia is tree lined and narrow as well. It's very short, so just looking over this list, I'm either gonna have to travel, or I'm gonna have to really figure out my mini driver for Columbia. So those are
Right.
so I think that's probably where I'm going for the players.
Yeah, I actually
Yeah.
just saw Legacy Golf on here. That might be one that I go to. I've played that a few times. It's
Okay.
not a far drive from me. It might actually be very similar to Winona. And to be frank, the bridges, it's not necessarily the course I'm not a fan of. That course does not fit my playing style. There's a bunch of creeks that run through it along the sides. It crosses fairways. Like it's very much you have to hit, uh, um, be very accurate off the tee. And you've watched me play. That's not my game.
Yeah. See, it's not mine either.
Give me a little bit more fairway. Need some space out there.
Yep. Yep. It's not mine either. So yeah. Well, shoot. Well, yeah. I mean, just pretty much all these courses, really. Other than maybe Baker National. I don't know if you've played there before. Excuse me. But I mean, all of these pretty narrow in terms of like if you miss, you're kind of in trouble. So the players is looking a little sketchy for our games. The MGA Amateur a little better though. Again, in the cities for me, it's Hiawatha, which is a city course. It's wide open. It's got 5 par 5s, which is great for my game. The only problem with Hiawatha is it sits really, really low in I don't want to call it a swamp because that's mean, but it's kind of in like a swampy area. So
Oh,
yeah, with wetlands makes it
yeah.
sound a lot better. But it's so the conditions of the course can be rough. And I didn't look at the date, but in the middle of this list here, so it's probably June-ish. So hopefully the conditions will be a little better by then. So I'm kind of eyeing that, but otherwise, I have Phelan Park here in St. Paul, which is just kind of a city course, a standard city course. I played a qualifier there 2 years ago. It didn't go very well. And then Tanner's Brook in Forest Lake is pretty close. Tanner's Brook I've played 50 times probably. And I've had some really, really good rounds there, like even par rounds, and I've also shot in the 90s. So that one kind of scares me a little bit. So I think I'm eyeing up Hiawatha depending on the location.
Yeah, if I was to do this
Or,
one,
yeah.
I'm looking at the Jewel or maybe Mississippi National. I've played Mississippi National, but I think I played the Highlands course, not the Lowlands course. So
By the way, the Highlands course there is very fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. They have that one par three where it's just like straight down off the bluff. I think they have it marked at 160 yards or 180 yards, something like that, but it plays 120,
Yeah,
130.
yeah, it's awesome.
Wild hole.
It's so cool.
Yeah, the Jewel, obviously, being really close to Lake City, played a few times in high school and competitively. The only thing is hole 12. If it's I don't know how to. I'm going to try to describe this for people who haven't played there or they're just listening to this, but if they're playing from the tips, the blacks out there, hole 12, you have to go over nothing but wasteland. It's all lost ball. It's about a 260-yard force carry, and you're landing into about a 25 to 30-yard wide area. So it is so tight off the tee from the tips. If you're not able to carry it 300 yards, once you get to 300, it's probably
Yeah.
50, 60 yards wide out there. So you got a lot more space, but if you can't carry it more than 260, you're dead in the water there. It's trying to lay up onto a different tee box and then hit.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I love the Jewel. I don't know if I could play like a competition there though. It's one of the most beautiful courses in Minnesota probably. If you're into the whole like aesthetics of golf courses and stuff, like the Jewel should be on the top of your list, I think, especially for a public course. As far as competing there though, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's that hole in particular, yes, but there's other holes too that are like
Oh, yeah.
very, very scary. We got Mitch. We got some comments that I was looking at the other screen here that has the list of stuff, so I didn't see them pop through. We have LMB DFS team asking if we're familiar with QI10 irons. We should at some point go through our bags and talk about why we play the stuff we do. I don't know anything about the QI10 irons. I'm guessing those are game improvement type stuff.
That would be my guess too.
Because usually the irons that match the names of like the drivers, which the QI10 is their driver, those ones are usually game improvement. They're meant to be. They probably don't ever do it, but they're meant to be like kind of sold together. Just because they're the big names. So I don't know anything about those. Sounds like you don't either. I'm guessing they're good. I'm guessing they're fine.
Yeah, they're not going to be bad, right? I mean, they're going to have more than likely more forgiveness.
Yeah,
Get a little bit more that way. But yeah, that's not what I play. I like to play a blade. I like a little more workability, being able to change the angle of the club, and you just don't quite get it with those clubs.
Yep.
But yeah, for the person who's going out and not competing, they just need a little bit more distance. They need a little bit more forgiveness. I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we should do one of these times, maybe closer to the season. We can do like a what's in your bag segment. That may be kind of fun. But yeah, I also play. I'm moving closer and closer to even more blade type clubs. I'm in players distance clubs right now. But I did just put a blade in the bag, so I have an 8-iron that's a blade now. So that would be interesting.
That's just one 8-iron.
Yeah. Well, this is how I do this, and now we're getting off a tangent, and who cares? This is fun. But this is how I do this when I change clubs. If I'm going to change, especially irons, if I'm going to make a change to more than one, I usually just buy one and then test it and make sure that it does what I want it to do. So I did this. I was playing single length clubs for a while, and I didn't like how my 4-5 and my 6-iron the ball flights were. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna get the clubs back in variable length because they're shorter in single length. I think I'm gonna get them back to variable length and then see how the ball flight looks. So I just got a 4-iron, played that for a few weeks, and it worked how I wanted it to. So then I got the 5 and the 6 after that, and then obviously those worked as they should as well because the 4-iron worked. So now I'm doing that at the bottom of the bag where I also had single iron or single length in 7, 8, 9, and wedge, pitching wedge. So I got a 7-iron. I had to replace my 7-iron, so I just got that in what I was playing before. And then the 8-iron, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play something a little more bladey, see if I can get it a little more workable, kind of like a wedge would be, kind of. So I got the 8-iron, trying to figure out if I was going to switch the 9 and the pitching wedge too. I'm still hitting around the 8-iron. It's brand new. It's going good so far, so I think I'm going to switch the 9 wedge too. But anyways, slight tangent there.
Yeah, we'll break that kind of stuff down later date. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And he, our friend LMB also said, it looks like we have an invite to Old York Road Country Club in Philly. Although Philly seems dangerous right now, Mitch, based on some videos I
Philly
saw.
For Vikings fans, I don't know if that's the place to want to go.
I don't know if you've seen the video going around, but it seems a little dangerous. And then we have Sweet Spot DFS checking in. One of my buddies I played golf with a few times. He says Greystone is fun. Is Greystone on this list? I didn't see it. Yeah, it is. Greystone and Sock Center.
Yep.
I don't know anything about it. He says it's fun, but he's also a better golfer than me and you. So he's like He's like a +2 or something like that. He's really good. So
yeah, well, every course is good when you can just hit the ball.
When you can hit it dead straight and flag everything. Yeah, I'm sure that course is super fun, Mr. Sweet Spot DFS. Anyways, all right, we got big sidetracked. Where are we going? We are
look at the U.S. Mid-Am qualifying. Troy Byrne, huh?
Yeah, so I put that on here. I don't even know if our handicaps are good enough. You have to be really low, like a 2 or something.
Is it
or like a 1 point something?
I think it's 1.3.
Okay, so I'm low enough at the moment. Early season and my handicap tends to get worse. So we'll see what happens at the beginning of the season, but I'm low enough now. Previously, I hadn't even thought about trying to do the US Mid-Am stuff. I don't know if you have at all, but Troy Byrne, I've played a lot of times. My coach was Troy Byrne's head pro for a while, so I've been out on the course a lot. I've played it a lot, practiced on a lot. I know it really well. So I'm thinking about giving it a shot, and that's why I put it on the list, mostly for me. I don't know if you've even ever thought about doing the USAM stuff.
I actually did. I wanted to do it last year.
Okay.
Part of my goal last year was to get to a 1.3 so I could qualify to play in it.
Gotcha.
And I got to 1.3. It didn't stay there, obviously. It's hard to stay low.
It is.
But by the time I got to 1.3, like the qualifying site in Minnesota was already full, because apparently that fills up immediately. Very common in Minnesota for those to fill up really fast. Didn't know that, so means I probably have to get down to a 1.3 by end of April and hope that it's not full already.
So you're gonna have a month or so.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Or it'll be like my 2026 goal. Get down low enough to at the end of 25 so I can just sign up right away next year.
Yep. I'm lucky enough that I had a really good end of the year. So I got mine down to, I think I finished at like a 0.8 or something. Mm-hmm. So should be able to sign up, and I'm honestly, I really hadn't even thought about it before because I haven't really competed. I haven't competed well enough in like the local stuff for me to feel like I even have a chance at that. But I feel like my game's in a much better spot now. And again, I'm Troy Byrne. I'm feeling really good about, so I think I'm going to give that a shot. Sweet Spot says Greystone is link style. It gets tough when it's windy. Link style, I can do.
I can do that too.
I can do link style. You can usually find your ball if you spray it a little bit. And wind, I like to play in wind. I think most people don't, but I think it brings me not being as great of a ball striker as other people, and me being really good at thinking my way around the golf course. When the weather gets bad, it brings me back to the people that are better than me. So I actually prefer when it gets windy, it gets a little rainy, it gets a little cold in competition. It kind of brings the pack back to me a little bit. So
I like it.
Yes. All right, let's get to we're 25 minutes in and we are really trying hard not to go over an hour. Let's go to your lesson for the week before we get into other stuff. I want to make sure we get this in.
Yeah.
Because this is maybe one of the biggest things that's ever helped me in my game. I'm guessing that's why you're bringing it up, because it's really helped you. Anybody I know that has ever implemented this method that you're about to tell people, it is a game changer as long as you practice it, obviously. practice, everybody. But as long as you do this, it's huge. So let me pull up the image you sent me, and then you can take off with it.
Let's get to it. At some point, we should get some like graphics and some sound effects for when we go into like the tip of the week.
Yes, I love that. If anybody out there is like a big graphic sound effect person that wants to take that over for us, I have $7.50 to give to you to help us with that.
$3.50. South Park reference if everyone gets it. But. All right, so we got the clock method with pitching. This is easily one of the biggest hacks I have done to get better with my wedges. And like Josh said, it's only as good as how much you practice it. This is really good for those feel shots. And if you follow me on Twitter or read anything that I've posted on my Substack, like when I talk about feel is only something that comes about from practice. You get really good at feeling a shot because you hit that shot a bunch of times, like hundreds of times. You just know what it looks like. You know how it feels. You know where your arms are. So speaking of where your arms are, there's a couple different ways people teach the clock method. Some people teach it by the club. Some people teach it by the hands or the arms. I'm more of an arms guy. I like to feel where my arms are in my backswing. So what you're seeing here is 3 images. The first one on the left is my 30-yard shot. The middle one is my 40-yard shot. And the last one is my 50-yard shot. And this is all with a 60-degree wedge. So as you can see, like progressively throughout, my hands are getting just a little bit higher. The club is getting a little bit higher. And what was kind of funny when I saw these photos is my 30-yard shot, I actually feel like, so I'll round this back a little bit. So if you're looking at a clock, my arms are about at 9 o'clock on the left image. Typically, what I feel in a 30-yard shot is probably closer to an 8:30, like kind of just under parallel. Obviously, I got a little bit higher than here, and that's why I think I wrote it down. Yeah, it was about a 35-yard carry there. So I needed to be just a touch below that to hit my 30-yard carry shot. But again, you just have to think about it as a clock. So 9 o'clock for me is about a 30-yard carry. And then from there, I go up just a little bit, and I'm feeling probably closer to a 30, getting close to, probably close to a 9:30 here. And that's my 40-yard shot. As you can see, again, the shaft is a little bit more vertical. And that shot was a 43-yard carry. And then the final one there, again, I think I'm probably close to a 10, maybe just over a 10 o'clock there with my hands. And that was a 48-yard carry on those. So the really awesome thing about this is when you're drilling it is, you know what a clock looks like. You know, especially if you video yourself. And I think that whenever you're swinging, you're practicing like something like this, you should be videoing yourself so you can go back to make sure you are doing what you're feeling. But yeah, so I just try to feel that 9 o'clock, verify it off video, and then I can just kind of feel myself getting my arms a little bit higher. And then obviously I'm in a simulator here, so I can tell how far the ball is actually carrying. And then I can adjust what I'm feeling as I go. But I mean, yeah, that's really what I have for how the clock method works. It's not overly complicated. It's just about making it right for you and making sure that you are getting your hands into that position and feeling the shot. And now another thing that I like to do on the clock method is I have these numbers for my 60-yard wedge or my 60-degree wedge. Then I have a 56 and a 52 in my bag. The way I like to think about it is I just add 10 yards for each of my other wedges. So a 56 for the one on the left would be a 40-yard shot. And then it would just progress up to 40, 50, 60. Then my 52, I would do the same thing. It'd just be a 50, 60, 70-yard shot. So in my head, that's how I can kind of figure out what club I need to hit and how far it's going to go. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not an exact method. But I mean, looking at my carry numbers, 35, 43, 47, that's all within 15 feet of landing in the zone that I was trying to hit it. And quite frankly, if you're getting inside 15 feet from even from 30 yards, you're giving yourself an opportunity to make the putt. And that's what you're really trying to go for here. You're just trying to give yourself a reasonable chance. And with this method, the clock method, you can tune it and fine tune it. And the more shots that you hit, the better you're going to get at feeling it. So, I mean, again, it's basic, but it's just something you have to practice.
Yeah. Yep. So I did the same, implemented the same thing. You can do it exactly. You can take it and implement it in all types of different wedge play. So what you're describing and showing here is with like the very short yardage intermediate stuff where you see a lot, like our friend Lou Stagner, who we'll probably talk about a lot. He always does these posts where it's like people are like, I want to be at 100 yards versus 50 because I know I can hit it closer, which you can't. But to get you more comfortable with your ability to actually hit it closer when you're 50 yards, being able to do this, the clock method will help you feel better about that. And yeah, so you're doing this with the short one, but you can also do this with your with like your full wedges. So I have a wedge matrix in my back pocket when I play, where I have my 60 degree, and then I have the shots that you're hitting here that are the 30, the 40, the 50 yarders. And then I go up to, my full 60 degree wedge. If I really step on it, I can get it going 110 yards if I want. That would rarely ever do that. I wouldn't suggest anybody ever try and step on a wedge, but if I wanted to, I could. And then from there, you go down and say, okay, so my actual stock is 100. And then I can take the clock method from there, where I go, my 10:30 swing, my 9 o'clock swing. Now I'm cutting off X amount of yards from there. If I start choking up on the club, and then I implement the clock method, now that changes the numbers a little bit. If you move it from your back foot to your front foot, that also changes your numbers a little bit. So you can, like with a 60 degree wedge, just by using the clock method, you already automatically have 3. And if you really want to get really down to practicing and get really granular with it, you can have 4. Excuse me. You can have 3 or 4 shots for every, one situation. And then you can expand that out to say, okay, here's my stock. And now if I needed to go a little farther or a little shorter, I can put it up or back in my stance. I can choke down on the club. You can close the face down a little bit. You can do all types of stuff to get your 60 degree wedge. If you really want to, you can get it to go 30 yards to 100 yards just by tweaking a couple things and using the clock method to get yourself in between those little weird distances that you're not comfortable with. So all of that being said, all of that stuff takes a lot of time and practice, and honestly, like writing things down and maybe even keep it in your book. But just doing this as in, like as Mitch was saying, just with pitch shots here, like 30, 40, 50 yards. And then you can also do it with like your full swings. Just having that, you've now added 6 different yardages, 6 different shots for all of your wedges, which will make you way more dangerous anywhere inside 100 yards. So do this. This is super, super key to being really good with your wedges, especially if you don't hit the green a lot or if you top the ball sometimes. Like having this and being really good at this stuff is very, very important. So I love this lesson. It's one of the first things I learned about wedges. It's one of the first things everybody should learn about hitting wedges. As soon as you can like consistently contact the ball. Like if you can't hit the ball solidly most of the time, then we got other things to worry about. But if you can do that, like do this. This is the first thing you should worry about every single day. Do this every single day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there are obviously other technique things that you should look at, but I mean, work with a coach with that. Like got to keep your weight in your front foot, ball position, all that. Like your coach is going to be your best help. But once you have the basics of that done, yeah, you use the clock method, get a firm understanding of what your numbers are, and it makes it so easy to play golf in that under 100-yard range.
For sure, 100% does. Um, okay, so that's the clock method. Do that. When you go practice tomorrow, go just do that. Don't do anything else. Just do the clock method and thank us later. So do you want to go to do you want to debunk some of this putting stuff that we've heard about for a week, or should
Yeah,
we
do you want to get controversial?
we can get we can do that. We can get controversial with some of these putting things, or we can we can grab another swing from Twitter and we can look at a swing. I like getting controversial, so we can do that. But you tell me where you want to go.
So we got what, like maybe 15 minutes left. Let's get controversial for like 5 minutes, then let's go look at a swing.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
you take it. You got the
Twitter.
quotes. You take it.
Yeah, I saw this on Twitter or X. The never up, never in with putting. I hate this idea.
Me too.
Like it's people say you have to get it to the hole, but the problem with that is every time that you're hitting a shot, any shot from your driver down to your putter, you're going to have a dispersion, right? You're going to have a lateral dispersion and a lip dispersion, right? Like there's dispersion patterns. So if your first goal is to make sure that the ball always gets to the hole, that means the putts that you accidentally hit a little bit too hard are going to go so much further past. So now you're going to have a 6 or 7 footer coming back, where if your goal was just to try to get good speed on a lag putt, you're going to get inside that 3-foot circle so much more frequently.
Yeah, I have many tweets about this. Maybe I can go back and we can clip this, and I can go back and I can just paste all of my 1 million tweets about this. I can't stand this either. Everybody you play golf with, they leave it short and like never up, never in. And my first response every time, and I laugh when I say it, just to hopefully not make people angry. But my first response is, well, yeah, but if you miss it long, it didn't go in either. So, so the response is always, well, if you don't get it there, it has no chance to go in. Well, yeah, if you hit it by the hole, it also had no chance to go in. The answer is 0 both times. The problem is kind of what you were alluding to is if when you read a putt, you can see the line, it's going to break slightly left to right, whatever. You get up to the ball, and now your thought standing over the ball is, I have my read, and now I have to hit it and make sure I get it there. Now you have changed the putt. So you read it in your mind. There was a line and a speed you had to take to make the ball go into the hole. When you stand over the ball and say, okay, now I have to hit it and make sure I get it there, you have now changed the line and the speed that's required for the ball to go in. So now if you hit it too hard, you're going to miss the break, and you're going to miss it. If it's left to right putt, you're going to miss it on the left. So if of anything, it's really mental because you've done all the work to say, this is exactly what I need to do to put the ball in the cup. And then you stand over the ball and say, wait, I'm going to do something different than what I just read on the green. So the never up, never in thing is just wild in my brain that anybody would ever say it. Your goal when you stand up to the ball should be, I read it, I know the line, I know the speed, I'm going to hit that now that's in my brain. And then you hit it and just deal with the results. If the ball's short, fine. If it's a 5-footer and you leave it short, okay, be a little mad. Like, that's bad. But if you're, I mean, even anything outside of 8 feet, if you leave it short, like, as long as it's a tap in, you had less than 50% chance to make it anyway. So as long as you're going to put the ball in the next time, it doesn't matter if it's short, long, left, right. As long as you're able to tap it in after that and you're not 3-putting, you're good. That's the other problem with never up, never in. You hit it too hard, it goes way by the hole. And especially on an uphill putt, if you hit it too hard and it goes by the hole, the downhill putts, now your knees are shaking a little bit trying to put that ball back in the cup. So, yeah, we're luckily we're on the same page there. I can't stand it. I wish nobody would ever say it. I wish nobody had ever said it. None of it makes sense at all to me.
Yeah, the much better rule of thumb, especially like once you said you kind of start getting outside of 8-10 feet where your make rate's going down to 30, 30-ish%. Your goal should be to just get it inside 10% of whatever that putt is. If it's 10-footer, if you get inside of a foot, perfect. That's a good putt. It didn't go in. You only had a 30% chance of making it anyway. That's fine. And you have a 30-foot putt, you get it inside 3 feet. That's a good putt.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
this reminds me of our friend who we will mention again here before we leave, but our friend Golfer HD, he posted his putting stats on X yesterday or the day before. And he said, "Look at my stats. Am I a good putter?" And I actually don't know if he didn't know if he was a good putter or not. It seemed like he thought he was a good putter. And he was just kind of putting stats out there to kind of get people to talk about it. But I looked at them and I saw that he was gaining strokes on like every putt except for like 6 to 9 feet or something. And he was like, "Man, I think I should be a better putter from 6 to 9 feet." And I'm like, you're going to make it less than 50% time anyway, so you don't really need to make more than what you're making. It was like 14 or 15 or 16%, whatever. So then I did the math for him, and I'm like, if you make the amount of putts that he was showing us Arcos, if you make the amount that Arcos says is good from 6 to 9 feet versus what he had made over the span of 10 rounds, it was like an extra 3 putts to make. So it's like 3 putts of 25-ish that instead of hitting the lip drop in. So I'm like, dude, you're like actually a good putter. Just 2 putt. You don't have to worry about making them. Like making them doesn't matter once you get outside 6-7 feet. You're gonna miss most of them anyway. Just make sure you're tapping them back in. That's the key. Golfer HD is here though. He says he rolled 90% of his putts to 1 inch last year.
that's a hell of a rate.
I don't believe you, sir. I don't believe you. That's if true. Actually, you know what? You know why I don't believe him? Because also in his stats were three putt percentages.
Oh no.
So unless he's 3-putting from an inch,
the internet's forever.
I don't. I don't believe you, sir. He's got a serious question. Let's wait to see what Golfer HD has for us before we continue.
All right, sounds good.
Hopefully he types fast. By the way, it's in your notes here, Mitch, but the make rate from under 10 feet, the number we really want to look at is like 7-ish feet, and that's 50-50. Once you get outside of that, the rate at which you make putts gets worse really, really quickly. From like 7 to 8 and 8 to 9 and 9 to 10 goes bad like fast, like really, really fast. So, and then once you get, 8-ish feet to like 30, most good putters just 2-putt all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's like when I get worked up about the putting thing, it's because I know that once you get outside of 8 feet and out to 30-ish feet, making the putts really, really doesn't matter. It's what you do, right, what you're going to be able to do with your next putt. That's the important part. So all this never up, never in, or I wish I would make more putts, or all this stuff, all that stuff really doesn't matter once you get outside 8 feet. You don't need to make more. You just need to not 3-putt. Golfer HD's typing super slow.
All right, well, let's move on to a swing, and we'll come back.
Should we pull up a swing? Let's do that. So we had 2 swings that we were debating on last time. One was our friend Minnesota left-handed golfer, which we nailed. Mitch, we nailed it.
We did.
I said 8, you said 9, and you said 8, or I said 8, you said 9. We agreed on 8.5, and he was a 9.1.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. He's not typing a question. That's my bad. His post on X was a serious question. He didn't know if they were good or not. So, well, hopefully my response was helpful then, Golfer HD. I'm a stat nerd. You can send me stats anytime. All right, let me pull up. So anyway, so the other swing is Tech Golf. That was the other one we were gonna pull up. So let's do his now. Let me.
He wants us to roast him, but I remember looking at the swing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. There ain't no roasting to be done here. Let's play it, and we'll just kind of let it. Let me get it on the screen here. There we go. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. How's that? Did that work? That worked better. There we go. Okay, Tech Golf. So if we want to roast anything, we have to roast the visor probably.
Yeah, yeah. Visor,
You know.
not good.
Yeah, I mean, real. The only person on the planet that's allowed to wear a visor in golf is probably Keith Mitchell. Otherwise, just put a regular hat on. Anyways, so I have my thoughts. What are your thoughts on the swing? You go first.
I was gonna make you go first. I don't really have much to add here. I mean, it's just right on plane. It's such a silky smooth swing.
Yeah,
Great
it's.
ball,
I mean,
great contact.
the swing's super good. Balance is really good. Like the takeaway is really good. Makes really good like the divot is clearly after the ball, and the divot is exiting left, which with this looks like it's probably not a wedge. Like that hole looks pretty far away, but it's probably like a 7 or an 8 iron. It's like that divot flying slightly left based on his takeaway there. Like he just hit like probably like a little baby fade with like a 7 or an 8 iron. Just like all of this like rotation's good. Like this dude's like he's probably a scratch golfer, if we're being honest.
I was gonna say I think he's like a +2.
Yeah.
That's no.
Our friend Sweet Spot, who is a plus something, he said he's a 2 at worst, and I mean I'm thinking like 0 at worst.
Yeah, 2 at worst for sure. I was thinking he's a plus.
Yeah, I mean,
like that. The thing about that swing is it's so repeatable. Like there's not much to.
Yeah, he's not doing anything really. Yeah. He's just taking it back on playing really good. Weight transfer's really good. Everything's really good. The guy probably flagged it to a foot, and he's good. You know what? I wish my irons looked like that, and I'm a .8. So there you go. He's good. He's a good golfer. Okay. Somehow we got distracted a lot, and we have still stayed under our time limit. But we should probably be done so we don't fucking bore people. Oh, there I went with an F word. I knew I was gonna do it.
F-bombs everywhere. No.
I knew I was gonna do it. You wanna? Speaking of Golfer HD, you wanna plug exciting news for next week?
Yeah, we have our first guest coming up, Golfer HD. Don't really know his real name. We'll have to figure that out next week.
we will.
Golfer HD is gonna be with us next week. We're gonna talk a little bit about his background in golf, why he's trying to get better at golf. He's starting to play a little bit more competition, so we want to talk about that, and also a little bit about what he might be struggling with. Try to get a better idea of what his game is lacking and see if we can give him some tips, or maybe we can get some people in the chat who know more than us to chime in and help us out as well. But I'm excited. We got him, and we got a couple more guests coming up here over the next month and a half or so. So
yes, we are in the dog days of winter here. Like I said, it's. I mean, maybe it's a little warmer where you are, Mitch, but it's going to be like a high of -9 on Monday.
How far away do you think I am, man?
Well, I mean, you're a good couple hours south. You get a little more warm down there. But anyways, so we're in the dog days of winter here. All we can really do is hit balls into screens. So early on here, we're going to try and talk to a whole bunch of people. We'll talk to coaches. We're going to talk to Golfer HD, which will be super fun. We'll try and get some other people on and see what they have to say, so we can kind of keep it lively and fun until we can actually get outside and talk about outdoor stuff. And then we'll have our qualifiers. We're going to play some competitive stuff together. We'll do all that good stuff. Hopefully I won't have a middle ear infection starting next week, so I can actually hear you and anything else going on around me. So we got all types of good stuff coming up, but we are going to have some guests on to kind of spice things up a little bit. Chat was fun. Sweet Spot asked if we're on YouTube. Yes, we are on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on X. We
go
will.
subscribe, follow,
Yes.
like, retweet,
Yes.
all the things.
Do
Comment.
those things. And Sweet Spot says link it in our Twitter profile. We should do that. So I will appreciate that, and I will do that. Or if you want to do that, you can do that. Anyways, you got anything else before I turn this thing off?
Got nothing.
Alrighty. Yeah, like Mitch said, do the liking thing, the subscribing thing on YouTube. Follow us on X. I keep calling it Twitter. I think I might just call it Twitter forever.
Yeah.
I don't like calling it X.
It's not as much fun.
I think it's what we'll do. Anyways, follow us there. Do all those things, and we'll be back next Thursday, 8 p.m.